Hello, everyone, and welcome to Up Supercast, the only podcast played in Beijing. I'm your host, Muzzy, and joining me today, we got William.
Just been thinking a lot about Winnie the Pooh.
Ilse.
Sorry, no, I can't.
Brandon.
I fucking hate when Will doesn't host, because that means that I'm not going to be the first one introduced, and I hate it.
And Saf.
I, for one, accept our Chinese overlords, and President G is the best.
So I usually introduce Brandon first.
We made that. First of all, how many times are we gonna make that Simpsons reference? I swear to God, we made it last week too.
Did we? Oh, well, that's
Yes.
good. But I usually introduce Brandon first, just to be clear, Brandon. I didn't today, but I feel like I usually do. But
there's been other times.
Okay.
I know. I make notes.
One day Will will come back to hosting, and you can go back to being first, okay? But until then, now I'm gonna make a conscious effort to not put you first.
You're already doing it.
Before it was subconscious. Now it is in the forefront. It's gonna happen.
Whatever.
Now you know who's full of spite.
Yeah. Hey, I don't deny I'm full of spite, okay? You have to own it. Some people don't own it. No,
I don't own it.
But
you make it sound as though that's a good thing.
Oh my god.
With all of you, you're all look. This whole podcast, everyone on this podcast is spiteful, okay? I'm just the only one who's upfront about it.
Speak for yourself.
No, you guys are bullshit. You're like, oh,
Excuse
I'm
me,
just
I am the
so
most
great.
reasonable person here.
Yeah,
so fuck off.
yeah. See, that's what you all think. I'm the only one who's
That's
smart
what I
enough to
fucking
realize.
know.
We'll see about
Okay,
spiteful
that's
by
what
the
I
end
know.
of the podcast.
Yeah, well, so we should get started, yeah?
Probably not.
So, I mentioned Beijing, I mentioned China. There was a big old incident. I guess
We're right into it.
Yeah, we're going right into it, baby. We're going right into it.
All right,
I feel
no-
as though we hit all of the controversial stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, we're riled up, so let's use this anger towards the CCP because
Oh no.
yeah. You may have heard there's some protests going on in Hong Kong. A lot to do with their. I mean, I don't want to break it down too much, but Hong Kong has a different set of rules than the rest of China, and things are happening with that. Look it up if you don't know what's going on. But it has infected the gaming world, believe it or not, because you see, China, there's a lot of money to be made in China, you see, and a lot of corporations like to bow down to China. We're seeing this with the NBA, but where it relates here, Activision Blizzard. Blizzard removed a Hong Kong Hearthstone player named Blitzchung from the Hearthstone Grandmasters competition, and they rescinded all of his prize money because he shouted in Chinese, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age."
Sure.
It's not, I mean, so I want to talk about this because China's using their influence, right, to,
Be a dick.
Well, yeah, be a dick. But also, I mean, this is an American company, right? Activision Blizzard, but they are, kind of kowtowing to, whatever China's ideals are. Whatever China wants us to mention, we'll mention. Whatever China doesn't want us to mention, we won't mention. We will shun people who go against the Communist Party of China.
Which is pretty standard practice. Yeah.
Do we know for sure if China prodded them into doing this, or they did this on their own, volition or whatever? Well,
the thing is that the NBA stuff ties into this story a little bit, right? Because the NBA thing was them making a move on a player's tweet, essentially saying we might not broadcast NBA in China if you keep letting people talk like this, right?
Yes.
And so that was sort of a shot across the entirety of the entertainment industry to sort of say, hey, you're not as big as the NBA. If you're talking smack, we'll cut you off too, basically. Which is sort of why tensions were already raised about companies and individuals making comments about the Hong Kong protests. This
guy is not a worker. He doesn't work for Blizzard.
But the thing is,
he's a player,
because it appeared in an official Blizzard stream, right?
Yeah.
Basically, it's like, hey, I mean, without probably explicitly saying it to them, I don't know exactly how these things happen, but I assume Blizzard looks at what happens in the NBA, right? Because it wasn't even like an NBA representative said what they did, right? It was the GM of the Rockets, right? Just expressing his own opinion on his own Twitter account. No official NBA business here, right? But that was enough to incite them to be like, hey, we're canceling 2 preseason games. The Rockets as a whole, the Rockets organization is not allowed in China anymore, right? And so Blizzard looks at this and says, hey, okay, well, we cannot, in any of our official capacity, we cannot be saying anything about these Hong Kong protests. We cannot, especially coming out in support of them. Like, that is not something we can do. We cannot risk that. Otherwise, we'll get blocked in China.
And it is worth noting that the contracts for the casters that interviewed him where he said that also got their contracts terminated at the same time.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Well, the day after.
Oh,
basically.
right.
Yeah. But and when it happened, they like hid underneath the desk because they were like, oh no, we're in a lot of trouble now, right? Like they knew. But it's a whole thing that is now. It's interesting because there are now senators making comments on Blizzard's actions, right? Like this is interesting because it has expounded beyond just the video game space of, oh, this company did this thing. It's now part of like a larger cultural moment we're having with like how we interact with the fact that, there's a huge market where there's hundreds of millions of dollars to be made for some of these companies, but you're going to have to play ball with this government that is very totalitarian and is very sort of I mean, they have state-controlled media primarily within the country, right? Like they very much are about controlling the message.
I mean, it's not like they weren't like the problem they call it. Well, Hollywood has a habit of like trying to cater to Chinese markets a lot as well, doesn't it? Like I remember Iron Man. Well, it wasn't Iron Man. Sorry, it was Avengers 2, where they had this entire scene where like Chinese doctors kind of like helped Tony Stark.
I thought that was Korean. Maybe.
Was it Korean?
Yeah. Well,
it was Korean.
But to me, I think there's a difference between that, right? Because like sometimes there are just movies where like you like The Meg, right? It takes place because the Meg is designed to appeal to in China, right? And that's fine. You're setting a movie in a country's whatever, right? Yeah. It is when you start intervening on this is a free speech topic, right? Like that's what this is. Like this is someone, and it's a person that has a certain set of rights that are laid out in the country they live in that doesn't matter, right? Because of this other country forcing influence.
And like, this goes beyond pandering to China and is actually like censorship for China, right? And it's affecting people who don't even live in China, right? Like, I mean, a lot of these people are American people who are getting, censored by their organizations, to be like, hey, like you cannot talk about this. You cannot do anything that, that the China Communist Party would not want you to say. And like, doing that to people who don't even live in China, I mean, that is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it is.
Honestly, I mean, people should probably boycott fucking NBA and Blizzard for doing this shit.
I mean, so there is a Activision Blizzard boycott movement going on right now. It was trending, top 10 trending hashtag in the United States. So the Blizzard stuff actually really hit big, which is surprising because you would think like the NBA would kind of like suck all the oxygen out of that story, right? It would just
the NBA has sort of been more. They've sort of walked back some of their things about like they're sort of reacting to the complaints more readily than Blizzard is here, right? Like,
all right.
I mean, Blizzard. It's worth mentioning Blizzard is disabling comments on their forums, on their news posts, on their blog posts. They're
doing a lot of damage control.
They're basically just shutting down completely. Refuse to respond to it at all. It's not great.
You have to if you want to delete your account, you have to provide an ID right now.
And on top of that, they're justifying themselves. They're saying, hey, look at the competition. Their response was, look at the competition rules. We are in our right to do this. That was their response. The response was not, It wasn't like, hey, we're looking into this or anything like that. It was just straight up, no. Like, that guy broke the rules, and we are enforcing it.
Well, if that's what they think their rules are, I mean, the consumer has every right to boycott them.
Well, I mean, yeah,
play
absolutely.
That fucking card if they want to play it.
And it's like, I mean, Blizzard needs to step up. Activision needs to step up, right? And,
Well, I think, this is like a larger cultural problem, right? Which is like, it's hard to expect like companies to do the right thing, because you have to incentivize, right? Like, because right now they're looking at a market like that we said, tens if not millions of hundreds of millions of dollars are at play. You have to create enough noise and enough stink in one way or another to make it where they look at that and say that might not be worth it, actually, right? Like, and that's hard to do. It's a lot of money, but
with the situation happening with the NBA, we're actually seeing China backing off a little bit on the pressure they're putting on the NBA, basically saying, hey, I mean, they're kind of realizing, hey, this is this is going backwards on us. It's kind of like a Streisand effect, right? Where more and more people are now aware of the Hong Kong protests too, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've seen articles come out just today of China thinking about maybe stepping back the they're not going to talk shit about the NBA on their official propaganda channels anymore. They're looking to undo some of the cancellations they did. Maybe the Rockets won't be banned anymore.
Yeah.
And so I do think that it's funny. Like, I do think the backlash is working, right?
Yeah.
Good.
We'll see if it works with Blizzard, but like, I mean, the fact that it even has China being like, whoa, maybe we.
I hope it works with Blizzard.
We're usually very good at controlling the message, and this message is, it's totally backfiring on us right now. So,
it makes sense if they try to dictate their fucking rules past their fucking borders.
Yeah. And hopefully, like, in solidarity with the people of Hong Kong, right? Like that, maybe things get better for them, like with the international backlash. But fun stuff. Crazy that this is, we're talking about this on a video game podcast. But
put politics back into video games, Muzzy. I'm trying to get it out.
However, I do have a news story purely about video games. No politics here. Because we have a next generation system officially announced. The PlayStation 5 is coming holiday 2020. Now, Jim Ryan made it seem like a big deal that, we're revealing the name. I think we all knew it was going to be called PS5.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah, it was a very funny. He's like, I'm so happy to get this off my chest. And it was a very funny sentence to me because it's like
everyone
this is
was
a
already...
high state secret.
Because in the previous Wired article, they insisted on calling it the next generation PlayStation platform, right? But let's be, everyone was calling it PS5 already. We knew it was going to be called PS5. We were calling it PS5. Like, yeah, okay. So
if they didn't call it PS5, they'd be stupid.
Yeah. So whatever. We do know. So we heard this last time, but now we have further confirmation on exactly how. So the PlayStation 5 supports ray tracing, and it is done on a hardware level. So it is, it's on the GPU hardware, so cool stuff on that front.
It basically means devs don't have to figure that out for each individual game.
Yeah,
right?
It won't. It's not like a software-based thing, like case by case. It's like it's in the hardware, so that's good. Physical games will use 100 gigabyte optical discs, which will also double up as a 4K Blu-ray player, which I guess is new because the PS4 Pro did not work as a 4K Blu-ray player.
Yeah, which is cool.
And so. Yeah, this will play your 4K Blu-rays.
Could it not play them at all?
No, it couldn't. Not 4K Blu-rays. Regular Blu-rays, yes, but not 4K Blu-rays. But PS4 Pro will. I mean, PS5
Do people still buy Blu-rays? Holy shit.
Game installation is mandatory, just like PS4, but it is but apparently it is different this time. They're saying that the installation process is a bit more like configurable, a bit more modular, so you can choose for. I mean, this is what they say, and I feel like so they said some of this at the beginning of last gen. But so who knows how much exactly will pan out? It may not be exactly how I'm describing it. But what they're saying is you could theoretically only install the single player of a game, or only install like this mode of a game or whatever,
Yeah.
And you just kind of pick and choose so you can save hard drive space that way, right? You don't have to have the
that's
entire.
Actually pretty cool, yeah.
Which is already, like a game that Crackdown 3 had this actually earlier this year. There's a couple of games where there's separate installs for the multiplayer and single player if you only want one or the other. And so, I mean, we're starting to see it put into practice, so I would imagine that this would be,
Yeah, it could be like one of those things where once you finish a single player, you're like, I don't know if I'll go back to that, so you can uninstall it.
Yeah. So making that more configurable is cool. Like, hey, I'm done with the campaign, but I still want to play multiplayer. Let me just get rid of the campaign now, right? If that pans out, that'll be really cool. The UI has been completely revamped, so you'll be able to get into a game faster. You'll see joinable activities with your friends, blah blah blah. Stuff like that.
That I think is interesting because one, it's always. UI is always a weird thing, right? Because you want to add features, but like as you add more, it doesn't get overly complex, right? But the thing I thought that was interesting was that basically the thing that they want is like, because you know how like to sometimes now in games you'll have all these different launchers, right? Like you have your Epic friends list in Fortnite, and you're also your PS4 friend list, and there's a bunch of things like that, and sort of they want to consolidate it from the way they described it into just like you turn on your PS4, you can go up to a tab, here's every game your friends are playing, and a join button for all of them, right? Not on because now you have to pan to the individual game, move down, pick it, let the game launch, and then do that, right? And so they said that they can use the shorter loading times to make it where you can launch any game from that list far more quickly than you could before.
So it should make joining multiplayer activities a lot faster, a lot better.
Yeah.
Because
if you're into that kind of thing,
try playing Monster Hunter World with a friend. It is a mess. So I'm just making. The PlayStation 5 controller, we have a little bit details on that. They're not ready to call it the DualShock 5 just yet, but that's probably what it'll be called.
It's going to be called DualShock 5.
Apparently it has a little hole in it that they are not ready to talk about just yet, so we're going to have to ignore that little hole for now. It is a bit heavier than the DualShock 4, however, they're saying that it is still lighter than an Xbox One controller with batteries in it, so, if you care about that.
Did you wanted to take it to the gym?
Yes.
There's
new adaptive triggers, which they say offer varying levels of resistance. The example they use is like a bow can feel more authentic as you shoot it out because you can feel the tension in that. The tension will increase as you pull the arrow back.
Yeah.
Or shooting a machine gun will feel different from shooting a shotgun, stuff like that. And then it has
Rumble.
Yeah, and then it has haptic feedback, which Nintendo fans may know as HD Rumble. So in the grips of the controller, just like in the Switch Pro controller, they have this highly configurable haptic feedback rumble system that can do all sorts of crazy stuff. Like you can feel. I don't have an example here, but I'm just going to use the Nintendo example. You can feel some ice cubes.
Well, they had a demo actually that the Wired people got to play, which was by Japan Studio, who did Astrobot last year, right? They're sort of now they exist to just show off weird tech. And it's a platforming level, but as you go through different surfaces, the controller like vibrates at different frequencies and like it's supposed to make it feel differently, right? Like, and they say the rumble can sometimes like if you can press the stick more quickly on an icy surface, right? There's less resistance from a stick on an icy surface than there is on like a muddy surface.
I mean, these sound like really cool features, but I don't know. Will they actually be used in those ways?
4 games will use them.
Theoretically.
These are things that, like much like HD Rumble, it's like there's a couple of neat instances, but largely it'll just
it's case by case, but for the most, like you could say 95% of games will probably ignore, but that 5% will be really cool.
It'd be really cool on like the first party like games. Like
I would especially bet that first party games would be the place to see stuff like that, especially games like Astrobot.
I can't remember. Was Until Dawn a first party game?
Yes, yes, it was.
It was?
I mean,
okay, because I was going to say
that,
that game used a lot of the PlayStation 4 tech on the controller.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, I don't think they'll work with Supermassive again, but, no,
I'm just saying as an example.
But, I can definitely see first-party games definitely utilizing that stuff. And, it'd probably go great with VR, because, VR is all about immersion, right, in the sensation you're feeling. So a game like Astrobot in VR with your new Magic controller is going to be pretty cool, I think. That's going to be good stuff.
You know what I want to say? I'm very happy about this controller.
Mm-hmm.
It has USB-C.
That was my next point. So it is a USB Type-C connector. which is basically what everything is using nowadays. So very cool. It's a reverse.
I just hope that I hope Xbox, and I'm sure they
would
will,
assume everything that used to be micro USB is transitioning to USB-C. I mean, everything that was anything is transitioning to USB-C.
I want to trash all my fucking micro USB cords at this point.
Get them out of here.
Just PS4 and Xbox One controllers. That's all I have them for.
Okay, and then one last bit of news on the PS5. They actually talked about a game, the first officially confirmed PS5 game, to my knowledge. So we know that Blue Point Games, who have done remasters and most recently the remake of Shadow of the Colossus, they work with Sony quite a bit, actually. They are making a new project that they self-describe as a reimagining. So they call the remasters, the up-res stuff, they call those remasters. Shadow of the Colossus, they call it remake because, new assets and stuff. This one they're calling a reimagining. So, there's a lot new with whatever they're revamping this time. And that game will be for the PlayStation 5. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting.
What an announcement.
We
learned so much today.
We know that something is being remade for PS5.
Well, you can fucking add Last of Us 2. You can add fucking Final Fantasy 7 remake. All that shit is being remade.
Well, none of those games have been officially announced for PS5. Okay. And I think because this is the first game that they're talking about on PS5, I think we can assume it'll be at or near launch. Yeah. And Shadow of the Colossus came out in 2018, so 2020. Late 2020 makes sense for Blue Point's next game.
I mean, if Sony's the one announcing this, it's probably a game they published in the past, which lowers the amount, right? And so people say different things. Demon's Souls is the one that I see a lot of people bring up. Who knows if that's the case? That's just speculation, I think.
PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Let's go.
There it is. Everyone,
let's stay.
It's a reimagining. That's why because they got the new
That's what it is.
They added Aloy, so that's it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting because Blue Point, like you said, sort of like does have a history of known for being among the best like remake / remastering houses around, right? And it is neat to sort of see the slow, gradual march that they have towards making their own game, right? Like it goes from we're like doing retexture work to we're making new assets to now we're reimagining, and so maybe by 2030 they'll get to make their own video game.
They did say at some point they want to make their own thing. Yes. I believe that is a stated goal for Blue Point.
Mm-hmm. Not anytime soon, though.
Well, maybe. We've seen, like I said, we've seen them slowly ramp up to get more and more freedom to kind of do their own thing. And so maybe after this reimagining, who knows?
Mm-hmm. Ape Escape.
Yeah. So. Last bit of PS5 stuff before I want to talk about something else related to Sony that they also pulled at the same time. So we got some details on the website, sie.com. And so we do know that it is designed for compatibility with PS4 games, which we kind of already knew, but it's nice to have further confirmation. PS4 games will be backward compatible.
PS3 games.
Don't know about that. It'll have PSVR support. It'll support up to 8K resolution for games. So they're already future-proofing themselves. Forget 4K. Ks. We got 8K, baby. And then it is a Zen 2 CPU with 8 cores and 16 threads. So this is a beefy CPU.
I know what that means.
Yeah. Just know it is
wink,
powerful.
Nod. We know.
Okay.
We're hip with the lingo, fellow kids.
Yes. So, the next day after this PS5 article, we found out that Sony Interactive Entertainment laid off a bunch of people at Sony Interactive Entertainment Europe. Seems to be a further globalization of the brand, kind of centralize everything, So maybe they thought that the European branch was maybe, what's the word I'm looking for?
Useless.
Well, say a more tactful way, but yeah, sure. I guess that there's a lot of overlap, right, in positions, maybe, right?
They laid off staff.
Yeah, they laid off staff, sadly. It sucks to have people lose their jobs, of course, very, not great. Also, maybe, depending on how you see things, maybe a little scummy to do this right around the time you announce PS5 when all the attention's on that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Especially because the nature of the PS5 article, right? It is something that they could kind of drop at any time, right? Mm-hmm. And so, the timing of it coming not only around these layoffs, but also right around the time that, last week we talked about, hey, Sean Layden left. There's some murmurs about some conflicts, internally at Sony, right? Mm-hmm. And then now we're seeing layoffs, right? And it's like,
It stinks of misdirection, basically.
Yeah. Just, especially because, we didn't we can be honest, there wasn't any real details here, right? Like, we got some neat stuff, right, worth talking about. But,
we found out it's called PS5.
We kind of
discounted that.
He was very happy to say it.
Coming out holiday 2020, but it's just the timing seems suspect to me personally. Mm-hmm. Seems a little, but
I think it is interesting because mentioning about the sort of centralization of Sony, like unlike a lot of with Nintendo, almost everything that's greenlit is going through the Japan office, right?
Yeah,
that's what's happening. With Sony, the European branch would greenlight their own video games sometimes. They would have their own things happening. They would have their own separate marketing budgets, right? And there was sort of like an exchange that would happen between Sony of America and Sony of Europe, right? There was a lot of autonomy there, and sort of. I mean, a lot of Sony Japan has ceded, in terms of PlayStation, has ceded a lot of their control to the American branch, sort of over the course of this generation, and a lot of last. And it appears that that may be happening with the European branch, right? That they're sort of saying, in the world that we live in today, it doesn't make sense for these three different sort of continents to all be greenlighting their own weird stuff, right?
Yeah, So centralizing Sony makes sense, and also America is their biggest market, right? Mm-hmm. So and it is now where Sony Interactive Entertainment is headquartered, right? They used to be headquartered in when they were SC. They used to be headquartered in Tokyo, and now they're in America, in San Mateo, California. So it's
are bigger. I didn't know they were bigger in America than Japan.
Oh, America is the biggest market for every console manufacturer. Spoilers, Brandon.
Okay. I guess America is the best.
There's a lot of people who live in this country who buy video games.
Though Europe has been a PlayStation stronghold for a super long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Europe has definitely been, but individual market-wise, if you look at each individual country, right, it's US, and then it's not even close to what's next, It's just there's a lot of people who live here.
Are they counting the European nations separately, or are they?
Yeah. So when I'm saying the United States is the biggest country, I am saying by country.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know the numbers, so I can't tell you for sure. It is possible that Europe as a whole for PlayStation is bigger than America, but I can't make that. I don't want to make that claim because I don't know for sure, to be honest.
I mean, if you, I'll rephrase it this way, right? Pretty much every go round, with the last gen and this gen, the Xbox One and the Xbox has always either, if you look at the gap between the PS4 sales and the Xbox One sales, they're actually pretty close in America, right?
Yeah.
The area where they suddenly get 40 million consoles on them is Europe and Japan, right? And Japan's market's shrinking, so a lot of that is Europe.
Yeah. Because the PS, the difference between PS4 and Xbox One in North America is 3 million units, right? The difference between PS4 and Xbox One worldwide is 50 million units. Plus, more than 50 million units.
So it's gotta come from somewhere.
So that 46 plus million surplus of PS4, you gotta wonder, clearly it must be doing very well in Europe. And also even in Japan, where PS4 is not particularly strong, but still, that's a solid 8 million for PS4 and 500,000 for that. I feel like even that, I'm exaggerating. It's very little. The Xbox One number... Xbox One sold very little in Japan.
It's ridiculous.
And that's the case for... But the thing is, it's funny because it's not even just Japan. A lot of Europe. The Xbox One just has not sold much, outside of North America. Almost all of its sales come from the United States. And then, some from Mexico and the UK. But otherwise, it is non-existent elsewhere,
But I do think that that didn't happen by accident. Sony made a lot of concentrated efforts to be in Europe, right?
Yeah.
And so there was sort of a reaction that I saw from some people that I think was silly, where they're like, "Oh no, now all the games are just going to be racing games and guns because that's what America cares about."
Yep.
But
first of all, racing games. Firmly a European territory.
That is
fucking Gran Turismo is massive in here.
I thought you were gonna say Europe at first because I was like, damn, dude, I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
No, but I do think though that like them specifically having marketing that's tailored to the European markets, I think probably did help them a lot over the years, right?
Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see if that's
well. So it's interesting, right? Because they did lay off a bunch of European people, and that makes you wonder how they're going to handle the European market going forward. But also, the guy in charge of SIE as a whole is Jim Ryan, who was head of Sony Europe, right?
It's interesting.
So yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see how things go. I mean, I think we can at least say that Sony definitely plans to be a more centralized force, right? I think that marketing in America will be very similar to marketing in Europe, and I don't think that Sony Europe will be greenlighting their own games anymore. I think that those days are over.
Sorry, Noah.
No more independence.
No, yeah. But still, it's a bummer to see people get let go. Yeah, I just want to highlight that. Last thing we say on that.
It's fun to see Saf get let go, though.
Well, it's never fun to see me let go.
Yeah, it is.
One more news story I got for you before. Actually, let's talk about one quick thing because it just happened. Pokemon had a 24-hour stream.
Mm-hmm.
Basically to reveal a single Pokemon.
It's wild. It is wild.
And not even a new Pokemon. It is Ponyta, but it is the Galarian form of Ponyta. It is a psychic type. Has a very cool look to it. I think a very cute Pokemon. It's a little pony,
Very much a unicorn.
Yeah, it's now more unicorn-ish.
Very cotton candy.
Yeah. But it's funny because we see. First of all, what do you guys think about Galarian Ponyta? I should ask.
Shit. He's a shit Pokemon.
Wow.
Also, Ponyta is exclusive to Pokemon Shield.
Shield, yeah.
Even worse. Holy shit.
Wow. I like it. I like him. We know that. Obviously, if the first form is Galarian, we're gonna get Galarian Rapidash.
What if it just turns back into regular Rapidash, though? Just imagine.
Oh, that would be horrible.
How fucking weird would that be?
That would be hilarious. It's very, very cute, right? Like,
yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting to me how much. We said it before. But, how much the strength of the Pokemon franchise is the creature designs themselves, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But,
that's why they're going back to Gen 1.
That's why they're going
oh my god.
But to be fair,
right now.
To be fair, Ponyta's not gotten a lot of love in the intervening years, right? It's sort of just, it's just sort of there a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But I think it is cool that, when they do these trailers after the fact, right? The Sirfetch'd trailer got an insane amount of views for what it was, right? The Ponyta trailer has picked up, 2 million views or whatever it was in 2 days by the time you listen to this, right? But the one where they're like, here's Team Yell, and here's all these different features and all these different things, just barely has that number of views, right? And so you're sort of like, oh yeah, people like this game because, these creatures are very good.
These individual Pokemon are getting so much attention. And it's funny because we if you look at Sarah B. Joe's Twitter account,
the poor man.
Because so a lot of people were like, this 24-hour stream was pointless or blah, blah, blah. We really want Pokemon, right? But it clearly worked because Sarah B. Joe mentioned, hey, this is the most traffic I've gotten for this game,
Yeah.
And the most traffic I've gotten for the site in 3 years.
Yeah, you said something. I think it's been since something about Sun and Moon.
Since the original Sun and Moon. This is the most traffic that the website has gotten. It clearly garnered a lot of attention, and people like Galarian Ponyta. So I think we can say it worked.
Yeah, right? My problem. I think so. It was cool. I like the idea of what they were doing, but I think there should have been more going on.
You definitely were not meant to watch the whole 24 hours, right? I just want to put that out there first of all.
No, I get it. But there could have been there was so much downtime that if you were just trying to pop in here and there throughout the day, there's a very good chance that you could have saw absolutely nothing.
It was very much designed with social media in mind, I would say, right? If you missed the thing, the idea was you would see it on your Twitter timeline, which largely worked, but it could have been 12 hours. It could have, the 24 hours was a long time, right?
Yeah. Or, they could have just had more stuff, even stuff that we know about already.
Yeah, why not, show fucking, at least 10 Pokemon, you know what I mean? Just space it out within, 12 hours or whatever the fuck.
It was more than just Ponyta, right?
They showed Impidimp, who has still not been officially revealed, and then a bunch of Pokemon that we've already seen before, right? That already exist.
No, but new ones.
Oh, yeah, but, they're not ready to reveal those Pokemon yet.
How are they not ready?
It's like almost November. Like, it's
but I do think I think we can now say we're a month out from the game, right? I think it's very clear they are very purposely keeping a lot of Pokemon a secret this time.
Because
right? Like that's just part of the plan.
Within the stream, there was like cries of new Pokemon a couple times, right? Like there was things where people were like, I haven't heard that before, but like they didn't show them because you're like, well, I mean, you could say that's frustrating, and it was. If you were there, hour 23 to 24 hours, you were probably frustrated, right? But I think that for what it was intended to be, it still worked, right? Like I think that the larger critiques of the stream, if they try it again, I get it. But I think that for what this was, it still worked. That they can iterate if they ever want to go back to it.
I would say it worked, but I also say it could have been better.
Yeah. Next attempt, you have things you can clearly improve upon.
Did they recycle like Pokemon animations? Like, did they just have the Pokemon do the same thing but like at a different time? Or
like 13 hours in, they did.
Okay. Yeah. No.
I mean, just
cut it short.
I think maybe the reason why I'm like the most fine with the stream is because I didn't tune in at all, and I just saw the big moments on social media.
Well, I didn't tune in at all, but just like thinking about it, it's crazy.
Yeah, but like every time I saw it pop up again on social media, I was intrigued. And I thought that was cool. And
there was 60,000 people that were watching live at work complaining, and 1 million people that were watching after the fact, right? I guess is sort of the thought, right? And like, it's the number.
And I think
it was interesting.
Yeah, and it's like this was. I think we can say this was tailor-made for social media, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of this cycle has been interesting and weird because very much Sun and Moon there was a schedule and there was a format, especially for the American trailers, right? It was like here's the artwork, here's the type, here's the ability, here's the little like picture-in-picture of like its base animation and it doing one attack, and basically every trailer for that game was that, right?
Yeah.
This time they're like, okay, we're gonna do this weird thing with Surfetch where it's like a glitch on the website for like a week beforehand, right? Like we're gonna have this live stream. Like they're doing more with less, I guess is the way to phrase it, and that obviously will have some people that are for that, some that are against it. But it's interesting because at first we thought it was going to just be very similar to the Sun and Moon cycle, but it hasn't been.
But I'm glad it's not.
I'd also say they're doing less with less if they're only introducing like one new Pokemon in 24 hours.
But they've got more attention out of that one Pokemon than
I mean like it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not even a Pokemon fan, but that kind of it's kind of like it's kind of stupid to me.
I don't know. I'm really enjoying the way they're doing it, and I think it gives the internet more time to get really excited about a specific Pokemon for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And obviously if the designs were bad, people wouldn't care, which also speaks to how good all the designs so far in this game have been.
I mean, I think that the worst, there's no really downside to it because if you don't care about the stream, then you just don't need to watch it. You could just, as Moses said, check out on your live feed. So there's no real negative effect to it, really.
I mean, I think objectively what they're doing this cycle has been working, though, right? Like, Surfetch and Galarian Ponyta in particular have they've gone viral, it's gotten people to pay attention to the game. It's working,
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that, it's what they're doing isn't working. And I think for someone like Brandon or me, right, we don't necessarily want to see much of the game anyway, right? I think I prefer them keeping a lot of it a secret. Sure, you could say maybe why waste 24 hours, but again, I don't think you were unless you're Sarah B. Joe, you didn't have to worry about it for 24 hours, you just got
No, but I mean, I'm not saying that it didn't work for them. Obviously, it did. But I mean, if they announced a Nintendo Direct and only announced, showed one fucking game, thing, people are gonna be pissed, right? I mean, you have this moment in time, you want to make the most of it, not just show one variation of one Pokemon. I would have wished they would have showed maybe 5 Pokemon.
I feel like a Nintendo Direct would be a different context to what the
one thing I do wish they did is that they didn't have as much lead up time to it. They announced this a week beforehand. It's like you could have done this 2 days.
Yeah, like they only hyped it up a little too much, right?
Yeah, you're sort of like let it be a thing. Hey, check this out tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna check it out tomorrow, right? Rather than like you said, a week of people being like, we're gonna see 6 to 8. I think we're gonna see 10 to 12, right?
And they did something similar with Surfetch, right? Where they had kind of built up this glitch in the website for like 5 days. And it's like, I mean, maybe like they could be a little bit better about like, hey, talk about it and then do the thing like immediately after, right? Like the lead up time is a little bit too much. One last game I want to talk about. We have Marvel's Avengers was announced last E3, right? This past E3. And when we saw it, we saw the original Avengers essentially, right? The ones you see in Age of Ultron. Mm-hmm. Now we have some new details about the game, though. They say the protagonist of the game is not any of the people you saw at E3, but rather it is Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. Mm-hmm. So she's if you don't know her, she's a newer creation, right, of the comics. Mm-hmm.
Relative to the Avengers currently, yeah.
Yeah. She's gotten a lot of buzz in general for being, for being like a Muslim superhero, people like her, and in general, people just like her a lot, right? Mm-hmm. She is the protagonist of this game. I mean, what do you guys think? Would you guys see the trailer? What do you feel about this?
I did.
After I saw the trailer, it honestly, for the first time, I felt excited about this game.
Yeah.
It seemed a lot more interesting now, especially, just seeing her interactions with the characters were really good too. It seemed like they had good chemistry going on, and it just seems way more interesting than what we knew about the game before.
Yeah. This premise definitely has me a lot more hooked, right? Like I'm far more interested than I was at E3.
And it makes. Sorry, go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, it just gave me a 180 opinion on this game. Like it's a completely fresh new perspective as to like the Avengers cast, like this entire team, which is interesting.
Uh-huh. I mean, because it makes like the base when we walked out of E3, the sort of story scenario of like the Avengers messed up and how are they gonna handle the consequences of their actions? And I was like, I feel like I've seen this too many times.
Should never write movie trailers.
But sort of when it's like, oh no, that's to make them all sort of be split apart and to sort of have this new character walk in and say, hey, like she's sort of defined in a lot of ways by being young and optimistic, right? And she sort of is that. She's sort of like, no, this isn't right. This is like I will be the one to try to make them all come back together. It gives a good centralized point for the rest of the story to sort of focus on. It's a good protagonist for a game, especially because also her growing powers, right? Like it's going to be weird to see how that executes in the game itself with the powers, but I'm more interested in that than like playing as Black Widow.
Yeah, I mean, even the little bits of gameplay we saw, I was like, "Oh, this actually looks pretty interesting," right? The bit of gameplay we saw with her, I was like, "Oh man, like I'm so interested in this game now, right? Like way more interested than I was 4 months ago." I think that's kind of been the perception. I feel like I kind of read in general a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm way more interested in this game now," right? Yeah, it's nice to not just another rehashed story that we've seen with these characters, right? And that's definitely nice. So, very cool stuff.
Well, I don't know that the original concept of it, or what we thought the original concept of it was going to be rehashed per se, but I was always interested in this game, and I'm still interested in this game. So I don't know. My feelings haven't changed.
Yeah, that's totally fair. But I think for the people who were a little bit down on it, I think this has done a good job of, maybe.
She's very much playing like the Spider-Man-ish kind of character, like idealistic and bringing everyone together again.
Yeah. This has nothing to do with this news drop though, but I am still a little bit disappointed about the PS4 exclusive content that they're pulling with this one. We don't know. Thing? Yeah, it is. We don't know how we don't know the extent of it is.
Yeah.
God, I hope it's not as extensive as the Call of Duty shit.
Story mode only on the PS4 one.
I guess the nightmare scenario is like Spider-Man is exclusive to PS4.
No, that is going to happen.
You have to buy Spider-Man PS4 to get Spider-Man in the Avengers.
I hate this. this right now.
But that has nothing to do with today's news bit, so yeah.
My life was better before I knew that existed.
Yeah, I've dipped Brandon's enthusiasm right back down.
Yeah, fuck it.
You did the right thing.
Yeah. Well, that is enough news. Now we must end the podcast as we always do. The list!
The list!
So you can follow along the list in the paste bin below, so you know where we're ranking these games. Last week, we added Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, courtesy of Will. It is at number 24.
Do it. Do the thing. Do it.
What?
Do the Mario talk.
The Mario talk.
I just want to tell you, so you know how bad that Mario talk was. I just had no clue what you were trying to do. Awful impression.
That's why I wanted you to do it.
Well, Saf is back now, and he's come for revenge.
It's Safi's turn. Saf,
do the Mario talk.
I'm going to describe what my choice is through Mario gibberish.
Yes, do it.
No.
I'll understand.
Speaking of Mario gibberish, so what I'm going to add to the list would be Super Mario 2. Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh, another Mario game.
From
Mario
a time
Brothers 2.
when
Check it
Nintendo
out.
of America could actually decide to publish their own games or do whatever they want with the games that they get.
Very relevant to our conversation today.
Very, very relevant to the conversation today, yes.
You nailed it, Saf.
Yep. So,
Nailed it.
So this particular game was basically chosen or made because the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2 was considered way too hard. So what
Also
they
just
did,
dog shit.
Bad.
also just dog shit. Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. Basically, but they thought the Americans were too weak to handle it, basically, right?
Yeah.
So what they did
We
was
were.
they just reskinned a different game, which was like
Doki Doki Panic.
Yomi Kojo Doki Doki Panic.
You looked
And
up the Wikipedia page, my friend.
I looked up the name. Yes, I did, just to make sure. And now we have this weird platformer, which was unlike any other Mario game, but for whatever reason, the enemies of that game seem to have transferred onto newer Mario games as well.
It was unlike any other Mario game, the one that came
before that.
But also, it's unlike any of the ones that came after it, right?
It's still pretty
yeah.
singular, yeah.
It's funny because you could say it's kind of like the Zelda 2, the Castlevania 2 of this franchise, right? But a lot better in quality, though, right? Way better. Unlike those games, Super Mario Bros. 2 is actually a pretty good game. It's just very different from a lot of other Mario games.
Saying that Zelda 2 is dog shit?
Look, I'm aware that Zelda 2 is not a good game. It is. I like Zelda 2. It's not a good game. Yeah. But
I agree with that.
But Super Mario Bros. 2 is a good game. It's a great game, in fact. The platforming is fun. It's got a great art style, great music. It's Shy Guys are great.
Enemy designs are great, and it's
now.
I mean, it's interesting that a game that was essentially a reskinned version of another game. It is interesting that so many of the things introduced here became Mario staples, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of where we got, hey, Luigi jumps higher than Mario, right? Peach can float for a little bit, and then just a bunch of the enemies. It's actually crazy how much influence this game, considering it was a US reskin of a completely different game, how much influence this has had on the Mario franchise as a whole, right?
Yeah. I mean, Shy Guys, weirdly enough, don't appear in the main series of Mario as often as they do.
No, they never do, in fact.
They've become like Yoshi series characters, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I kind of wonder, this is off topic, but I kind of wonder if there's a explicit mandate at Nintendo that all Mario spin-offs have to have Shy Guy in somewhere.
Miyamoto said it. He said, I did not draw this man. Yeah. Get him out of here.
But for example, Shy Guy, he's not in any of the other platforming games, right? But the spin-off to Mario 3D World, Captain Toad, they're the main enemy, right?
They're always in, like I said, they're always in the Yoshi games. I mean, didn't Snuff It make it into Super Mario 64?
Is it Snuff It or Sniff It?
It's the weird floating ghost version of him, but yeah.
That's what it is, yeah. Didn't he make it in Mario 64?
There's a couple of these guys that made it to the regular games. It's just Shy Guy has not.
Shy Guy has not.
No.
Neither is Birdo, I guess. Birdo's not really in any of the mainline games. But,
or fucking Mouser.
They a lot of them live in the whatchamacallit. Well, Pokies are Mario? First in 2, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and they're a staple. They're a staple in the platformers now. But that we're completely off topic. Super Mario 2 is a great game. Zach,
War is in Link's Awakening.
War is in Link's Awakening. Yeah.
It is.
Saf, where do you want this game on the list?
So this is going to be whether or not I consider it better or worse than Super Mario Brothers. And I want to say it is better than Super Mario Brothers.
I'm gonna say fuck off. It's going lower than Super Mario. I'm
gonna say it should be below Mario Tennessee. And maybe DuckTales. Probably Drill Dozer too.
It goes above DuckTales. It is okay.
Is it better than DuckTales?
It's better than DuckTales. It is better than DuckTales. I don't want to hear it. It is better than DuckTales. Fuck off.
You're gonna hear it.
I don't know if it's better than DuckTales.
It is better than DuckTales.
I don't think it is.
Do we have 3 people that think it's better than DuckTales? The thing is worse than DuckTales.
No, I haven't played it, so sorry.
Oh, dang.
We're 2-2.
I think DuckTales is better.
Sorry, Steph. We just jumped down 40 spots, by the way.
Yeah, I know it's
on. Keep jumping.
No, I literally looked at my screen and I'm just still scrolling down. It's like, where does it stop?
You guys are underselling how good this game is, okay? Like, this is a great platforming game, okay?
No, from my perspective, all of you are underselling how good this game is.
I mean, yes. Zach,
I think it's worse than Drill Dozer. I think it's worse than...
It is not worse than Drill... I haven't played Drill Dozer. I can't
say better than Mario 3D Land?
It is not better than
I don't think it's better than Mario 3D Land, actually. No, exactly. Good point.
It's not better.
Oh, it is. That is where. Yeah. Okay. We got a brew going, boys.
But here's but now here's the problem with the list. Oh my God, you people
that changes things. That changes things so much. Fuck, I forgot that existed.
No, but 3D Land is way too low. I'm not gonna let Super Mario 3D Land is too low.
Is part of the
sins. Okay.
But I still think it's worse than Luigi too. Luigi's Mansion.
DuckTales, DuckTales has a good track.
No. They all played DuckTales like a month ago.
Yeah.
No.
DuckTales is a really good platform.
It's a really good platform, but Super Mario Bros. 2 is a better platforming game.
Is it though?
It is. It is.
I think the fact that the character with the float is there is an indictment on the controls of the video game.
It was just to differentiate that.
I think it is. I think when you pick Peach and you're like, well, thank God I'm talking about platforming.
That game is completely wonderfully playable with just Mario. You never have to touch
that's
Peach.
That's like saying easy mode is an indictment on the entire gameplay of a video game.
I'm just saying you should take a look and see that Luigi is... I don't think it's as fun to play as you think it is. There's some weird adventure game design elements where you're like, what am I supposed to do? And that detracts from the overall.
Yeah, maybe if you have a small brain.
Yeah, I mean, also,
it always comes down to this.
Which version of Mario 2? Are we talking about like the Super Mario All-Stars version of Mario 2, the one that was like in the Mario Advance game? Because that's the definitive version of this game.
We always rank the definitive version
because it gives you an actual save feature. Because the NES version pissed me off.
Okay, yeah. So we're talking about the version with the save feature.
There you go.
But did you hear the voice
that being said,
of Mouser?
That being said, it's still worse than Super Mario 3D Land.
Yeah, but 3D Land's too low.
And it's worse than Luigi's Mansion.
It is.
Nah.
Yeah, it's probably worse than Star Wars Republic Commando, too.
Slow your roll.
Listen, Mario 2 is a solid game.
Brandon.
I mean, we're talking about solid games here.
It's worse than Pikmin 2. Let's just keep going down.
It belongs higher than Pikmin 2. I'm taking a stand.
I haven't played Pikmin 2.
I'm taking a stand.
How about Shantae?
It should be higher than Pikmin 2. And Shantae.
I guess it should be higher than Shantae. Just the first Shantae. Not all of them.
I can't comment on Republic Commando. I've not played it enough to really speak one way as much.
Republic Commando is a good fucking game.
Yeah, it's been over a decade, so
I lost DuckTales. What the fuck is it?
DuckTales is 73.
DuckTales is 73.
It's above where you want to put
This game should go above Dragon Ball FighterZ.
You're just saying that just to have it just above DuckTales.
No, but it should be above Dragon Ball FighterZ also.
I think Elite Beat Agents is better. I think Luigi's Mansion is better. I like Goemon more.
Yeah, well, maybe all those games are too low, Will. Have you considered that the middle of the list
when we create a case of 5 games, then eventually you just gotta put it there.
Okay, well, I'll tell you.
One game I'm willing to allow for, but
it's
5.
Better than DuckTales. It's better than
Have
Dragon
you
Ball
played
FighterZ.
DuckTales?
Yes, I played DuckTales. I played both the original and the remastered. And let me tell you, it's an overrated game. I'm just gonna be honest.
We just played this game pretty fucking recently, and I don't agree with that at all. Because DuckTales is
the boss
really
battles are
fucking
bad in Mario Brothers 2.
I mean, boss battles aren't that great in DuckTales either.
That's great.
But you know what they are good in? Luigi's Mansion, so it should be below it.
Wait, hang on. How are the boss battles bad in Super Mario Bros. 2?
What?
How are the boss battles?
How are the what?
You cut out.
Zaf's bad.
How are the boss battles bad in Super Mario Bros. 2?
They're like, okay, so here's the thing, right? The whole gimmick of the picking up the enemy and throwing up the enemy, right? Works good when you're walking around, right? There's some neat little things you can do. But it is a pretty basic concept. And when they're like, here, go and... like the parts where the Mouser thing with throwing the bombs back, it's like not that fun, right? The thing where you have to like build the like mushroom staircase to get to whoever it was, the 3-headed snake, not that fun. They're just sort of like they're mostly tedious. All right, you know, a game has great boss battles.
It can be kind of a pain.
Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, I think we should defer to Video Game Donkey, who is clearly...
No, whatever you want to defer to is in your favor.
Yeah, Video Game Donkey on this podcast.
He is a big fan of this game.
Listen, he's welcome on this podcast, but he's not on this podcast right now.
Super Mario Bros. 2.
All right.
This is #1 game.
We would tell him to get fucked if he was on this podcast right now.
This game should be above Golden Sun.
Jesus Christ.
What are you doing?
This is like one of the biggest fucking jumps. We're not even close to a fucking
chaos.
concession here.
I'm not going to stop this because I feel so much it's going to get higher and higher close to Super Mario Brothers.
I'm near Luigi.
You know what the problem is? We haven't had to deal with the middle of the list in a while, and now you look at it, and this is an abomination.
No, it's not. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
It is an abomination.
It is not.
An abomination of a bunch of games you haven't even fucking played, probably.
A lot of the middle worlds in Mario 2 are just sort of... I don't know. That ice level is a bad ice level.
I'd say Super Mario 3D Land probably has to go up in the middle of the list.
Sure, it does.
That's about it.
If someone picks Super Mario 3D Land for the next rank, whatever the fuck we're going to name it for the next rank session, then Ranker Series, yeah. Then I'll be fighting with them in regards. Well, I'll be fighting by their side.
Also, Cave Story is too low. I just want to throw that out there.
Wart is a pervert. I don't like him.
Where did that come from? Is it because he shows his butt at the end?
Yes.
You know, I'll tell you something about Super Mario 2.
What'd you want to tell us?
It's like the only core Mario game I never fucking bothered beating.
Ooh, that's an indictment.
Yeah, no, that's...
It's just...
That's because you don't have guts. You don't have grit.
No, that's because the game...
You lack grit.
It's good, but I don't really care about beating it. It's not... It's, it doesn't...
You know what we say on the Jump Up Supercast? If you haven't beat a list, beat a game, fuck off. So I guess Brandon can go...
Who the fuck said that? No.
I mean, maybe I say that, but nobody else does.
Yeah, nobody else
Brandon says that.
Are you saying that all the
never says that. Brandon says that every single time.
Yeah, I say play. Have you played this game?
No, you're always like, you gotta beat a game.
That's not true at all.
Okay, me and Ills are the same person now. I forgot. Damn, Ills. We need to... Is it 30 minutes? Did our fusion end yet?
I guess so.
We're not the same person anymore?
We care so much about our streak because that's the only way we can prove that we have an opinion on the game.
What a bad
When
twist.
the fuck have I had this opinion?
Never said that. Holy shit.
What a bad twist that it's all a dream, by the way. What a coward's maneuver.
It was the first, okay? It was the
first one to do it.
It was not the first thing that I've ever done that.
The first
revolution.
Name a video game that did it before Super Mario Bros. 2. Link's Awakening is a knockoff of Super Mario Bros. 2.
Dreamland.
This game came out before Alex Kidd.
Kirby.
Okay, now we just.
This also came out before Kirby.
Donkey Kong 3.
So, you know what? Now that we know that Link's Awakening aped this game, we have to put it above Link's Awakening.
Oh my god. No.
Somebody has to concede. What the fuck?
Underneath Luigi's Mansion is what I'm...
That's where I'm looking.
Yeah.
No, it is not going below
You keep
Luigi's
passing
Mansion.
over Luigi because you have nothing to say. You both went, because you know it's better than... You know Luigi's Mansion's better.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion's better. It really is.
And plus, like, half your arguments for this game are completely legacy arguments. I don't want to hear about fucking how this is the first game Peach got to flow. I don't give a fuck about that.
No, that was the description.
That is
of
completely a
what
legacy argument.
That was just describing the game.
Yeah,
And then
that's
you
what
said
we
nothing
did.
good about it after that.
The game is a fun platformer. I don't know what to tell you.
It's a fun platform and it introduced new, different ways to play it. Like,
You know what's really
Toad is-
fun?
Oh, wow, introduce. You know what introduce is? Legacy argument.
Yeah. You
Wait
know what
for
else
these
introduced
dang
something?
old Pidgeys to come by so I can ride their carpet. Let me die so many times.
Yeah, that
pit.
was fun.
You have to make a leap of faith in a Mario game? What is this, Donkey Kong Country?
Luigi's Mansion has introduced being able to walk around in a nice mansion and shout out Mario's name.
Mario
all
button.
right?
It had fun perspectives in regards to like vertical levels. That was great. And
I have a game before Luigi's
have
Mansion that you
replayed
can suck
Super
up
Mario
Have you
bullets in
ever
a
fallen
vacuum
down one
cleaner.
of those
I
vertical
wanna hear
levels
it.
and then just keep falling and falling and falling? It's real fucking fun.
And
You know
then
what's
you
fun?
move
A
to the left,
Phantom
and then you come out from the right hand side of the screen. That was great. That was a neat.
That doesn't even make any logical sense. It's stupid.
It's a dream. It doesn't need to make any logical sense.
Oh my god, it's fucking dumb.
No,
Alright,
This game was a great game. It was a fun platformer.
Ills, load up your find a copy
Get the
immediately and
fuck
start
out of
playing.
here, alright?
Play for 5 minutes,
game
then we'll
right now.
rank it. Because Moose said it's fine. You don't need to beat a video game, so 5 minutes is enough for you to rank it.
Is
Okay?
it on the Switch? I'll fucking get it right now.
Boot up your fucking NES Classic.
Okay,
but
let's
the amount of
settle
time
for
he was
your
dedicated
goddamn
talking about
bar.
this game.
I am willing to settle because I actually don't give a shit about this game.
Oh my god. Jesus.
Oh my goodness.
Where are we
This is what
settling?
the list has been waiting for.
Underneath Luigi's
Let's
Mansion,
put it
do it.
below Luigi's
Damn, what happened to
Mansion.
Super Mario 3D Land?
Oh wait, hold on. Can we at least?
No, because
No, hold on. Can we at least settle for below DuckTales? Below your stupid DuckTales.
No, because Pandora's Tower is there.
I'm settling. Come on, meet me halfway. Because I wanted it above DuckTales.
These are all games that we've played and you haven't, though. Except for Luigi.
I played,
yeah,
Put it below.
games that we played. Mention how we said played and not beat.
Otherwise, I'm gonna go back to my hard lines.
Oh my!
We don't negotiate with
No,
terrorists.
I'm not negotiating. I'm not making a deal with,
With
the
the
fucking
terrorists.
devil here. Yeah, seriously.
Like, come on! It's not better than DuckTales, but I'm giving it to you.
It is better than DuckTales, and it's better than...
What?
I mean,
Wait,
it's not
what?
better than DuckTales, and it's not better than Pandora's Tower, or Mystical Ninja,
I
or
don't know what side
Winback,
I'm
or
on
Elite Beat
anymore.
Agents. Oh my fucking
Alright, above
God.
Luigi's Mansion.
No!
Below.
What is this?
Above Luigi's Mansion!
No! Because then all of a sudden I have to re-rank Luigi's Mansion, and I don't want to have to
Luigi's
do
Mansion
that.
less than
Listen,
every play.
I only want to have to re-rank one game. That's Super Mario 3D Land.
It's a better game than Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, it's not.
It is. Luigi's Mansion is pretty
You
overrated.
at the very least have to give it that.
No, we don't.
No.
We don't have to give it that.
I'm not going to give it what it's not. It's not better than Luigi's Mansion.
Why isn't it better than Luigi's Mansion?
Because
I don't
Luigi's
understand.
Mansion is a great fucking game. It has
So is
really
this one.
No, this game is good. It's not great.
The vacuum mechanic is more satisfying than picking up and throwing an enemy.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
the vacuum is great. Okay, every single portrait ghost has really fun. It's really fun to figure it out. All right, really cool puzzles. Every single one's like its
I
own
love
unique
the
puzzle.
portrait ghosts as characters. I think they're more they're really interesting and cool.
Yeah, has cool level design. It's fun to goddamn explore the stupid ass mansion. A lot more fun than explore Sahara Land or whatever the fuck it's called. Oh no, that's Super Mario Land.
But anyway, in like 2 hours. It's such a short game.
You can beat this game in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, what the fuck? What stupid argument is that?
If
you know what you're doing, you can beat both these games in no time. What are you talking about?
Luigi, I can play with Toad. There's so much replay value here. Luigi
God. Fucking God.
You only play Toad if you want to hurt
Do you remember
yourself.
how intense the game got whenever you got a key and this fucking phantom just chases after you?
Yeah, that sucks.
The excitement.
That's not exciting. It's shitty.
You know what game is
not shitty?
It's Luigi's Mansion. They're like the different suits on the deck of cards. Spade
fine. You were
iconic.
probably about 4 years old when you played this game. You got scared quite easily. I understand.
I didn't get scared of shit. I just hated it.
No, come on.
It was annoying.
I was 4 when Luigi came out. That's not true. But I was like 6.
This game should go lower than Wind Waker.
Where the fuck is
Wind Waker's not on the list.
Troll.
Oh my
God.
Okay, put it below Luigi's Mansion. I sincerely don't give a shit.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, if you weren't going to do it, I was going to do it because it's going to be like, too much work.
I don't even know what this game is.
Just know that I'm clearly the bigger man here, and that you all are monsters.
You mean clearly the wrong person.
No.
You just admit it. You don't even care.
I am the bigger man. I'm willing to cede because
you're the bigger man because you. Shut the fuck up.
Okay. Has someone wrote down where it is on the list yet? Let me see.
It's number 80.
Okay, so. So the surrounding surrounding Super Mario Bros. 2 on the list. We got number 78, Leapy Dangerous, number 79, Luigi's Mansion, Super Mario Bros. 2 at number 80, Star Wars Republic Commando at 81, and Super Mario 3D Land at 82.
There's a lot of Super.
So, if you like this podcast, if you made it to the end somehow, I applaud you, number one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And number 2, we're here every Monday, so catch us on wherever you can find a podcast service that is, iTunes and other podcast services like that. You can also check out the Jump Up Supercast Game Club, right, Brandon?
Yeah, you can.
Where we play DuckTales.
We did play DuckTales.
In fact, most of the games on the list belong to the club. So
a plurality, yeah.
Yeah, very important for the canon of the list.
Yeah, we're playing Apotheon.
Yeah,
that's the game where it's on the jars, right?
Yeah, it looks like the Greek, the old art style, like on the old Greek jars. The beginning of Hercules, that kind of style. It's cool looking.
Cool. I have opinions on that. I'll share with them after. What else? Okay, yeah. So we're on social media. Be sure to catch us on the Twitter because that's where you can find out where all our podcast episodes go up, both the Jump Up Supercast and the Club. You'll find out when we're streaming. One day we will, I promise. Twitch.tv/Jump Up Supercast. We're also on Facebook and Instagram /Jump Up Supercast. Instagram, you get to see a sneak peek of what's coming next on the Club, so that's always fun. We do something special for each social media. What is special about the Facebook? Is there anything special about the Facebook?
I don't give your information to the Russians.
Yeah,
you can. We post the episodes. That's about it.
It's for our older demographic. All right.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't have picked a worse example, to be honest with you.
We got a YouTube.
Yeah, we have YouTube.
The special thing on that is that if you comment, I answer.
Yeah, so comment on the YouTube and you get a reply from Mills.
If you commented on Facebook, I would answer too, but you don't. So it's cool.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna take us out if you guys don't mind.
I do mind.
Well, that's too bad because I'm the host.
After all that bullshit.
Okay.
Okay. So I just want to say I was a bit of a troll today. Okay, I apologize because I'll be honest. I have no feelings about Super Mario Bros. 2, positive or negative. It exists. It's a game that exists.
Piece of shit.
What a garbage man! You've got my hopes up.
You are the smallest man.
It is a game. It's a fun game, and it's just an indictment on how awful the middle of the list is. That I could feel like it could be anywhere and be right because the middle of the list is a dumpster fire. And that is all I would like to say. Maybe we could fix it with Ranker series. So look forward to that.
I'm gonna
I'm just
hijack
gonna
it.
cut his final.
Factually incorrect.
Also,
the worst outro ever.
Also, R.I.P. John Kirby. By the way, I wanted to give like a shout out to a man that died and did really cool things for civil rights, but Moose did that instead.
I thought it was Jack Kirby.
Jack Kirby's the comics art.
My bad. Okay.
Rest in peace, John Kirby. We'll miss you, buddy.
Rest in peace, all Kirbys.
Hell yeah.
Wait, what other Kirby died?